Let's take a look. There are some people. Hallo iedereen, welkom bij onze eerste webinar in de groep. We hebben al direct een fantastische spreker, François Goube. Wie is François? François is een CEO en oprichter van Oncrawl, een technisch SEO-platform. Naast Oncrawl is hij ook de Franse ambassadeur van Majestic SEO en moet hij ervan een goed patent doorluisteren en daar zijn bevindingen uit te halen en die te delen op conferenties en tijdens webinars zoals nu. Het is natuurlijk ook enorm van het analyseren van data. De data die je krijgt van Oncrawl, van crawls, van logfiles en hoe je die effectief kunt gaan inzetten om eigenlijk een SEO-strategie te opzetten. Maar nu, ja, ik heb wel zeker genoeg gepraat over wat ik vind ervan en over SEO Benelux. Maar nu ga ik vooral François aan het woord laten. Hi François. Join us.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, François. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. You're excited to do our first ever webinar in the group?
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I feel really proud to have been invited. Hello, SEO folks from Benelux. I'm really happy to share some insights with you today.
Yeah, cool. How well do you know the Dutch-speaking SEO community? Do you know some persons from it or some SEOs?
Well, you know, when you're thinking about the Dutch-speaking SEO community, there's always Joost who come in mind first.
Yeah.
For years, I know John Willem Bobbink. His Twitter handle is not provided. He's got a blog called notprovided.eu, with who I'll talk about technical SEO for years now. And I also remember attending the ceremony of the European Search Awards in Amsterdam a few years back. But to be honest, we had too much drinks for me to remember all the names. So and you know, it's funny because the SEO community is a big family. Wherever I go, all SEOs are talking about link building, technical SEO, and having some beers. So I'm just having a coffee now, but if it was later in the afternoon, we should have some beers.
Yeah, we have to do something about our drinking problem in the Dutch-Belgium SEO community. So what will the webinar be about?
Well, it will be all about technical SEO. I'll try to give you some insights about how to take better SEO decisions when you're combining the right pieces of data. Of course, there'll be plenty of screenshots of Oncrawl because this is a tool we are building. But the method is right, whatever method you use to grab the data. So I hope all the listeners will be able to grab some actionable stuff they can apply.
Yeah, that will definitely be interesting. So yeah, we would say let's go. The room is all yours. Just one message to our viewers: don't hesitate to ask questions in the chat at YouTube. We will pick the most interesting ones and we will give an answer to them after the webinar and the Q&A. So let's go, Fem.
Okay, can you just confirm you can see my screen?
I can see the screen, yes.
Okay, perfect. So let's start this webinar. Just give me a moment as I'm... Okay, so this webinar will be about combining the data to take better SEO decisions. I'm very happy to be here with you folks at SEO Benelux. And we'll talk a little bit about why we should be all augmented SEOs. Quick words about me. I love to read Google patents. I'm really nerdy on that point, but I love to understand how things work. So even if Google may not apply broadly the patent they have, it's always interesting to see how engineers may have tackled a problem. So I love to read that on the weekend. I'm also the co-founder of technical SEO data platform Oncrawl, and feel free to try it. There's a free trial on any plan, so I hope you enjoy it. And today, why should we be prepared to be augmented SEOs? We see Google updating its search results and their algorithms with a lot of artificial intelligence. And as they are becoming smarter and smarter to identify spam, identify near duplicates, understanding networks of websites, stuff like that, we need to rise our game. We need to have the right tools, and we need to unleash our inner superhero. And for that, we need to have a very, very, very precise mood that is being calm and combining your data. So let me give you some actionable use cases we've encountered while building Oncrawl or helping our customers crunching the data they have. The first superpower you need to have is to be omniscient. You need to know everything about your websites. You need to grab all the pieces of data you can, and there are pieces of data at your fingertips, like the logs. There are many informations within your logs. Like a couple of weeks back, I was doing a talk at Brighton SEO, where we released some insights we've uncovered while analyzing billions and billions of log lines, and believe me, there are plenty of insights right there. Why? The main question is why. Within your log files, you can get what Google is doing on your website. You can know how many pages are crawled every day, how many unique pages, how often Google is coming. You can even understand the impact of each of your SEO optimization, because as soon as you're modifying your breadcrumb, as soon as you're modifying your menu, as soon as you add some content, then you will see a change in the Google bots behavior. So this is a way to understand if you are doing things good or not. So dig deep in your log. It will also help you understand particular types of behavior. Like, you know, we are all talking about Google rendering JavaScript. The fun thing is it costs a lot to render JavaScript. So Google is trying to save its resources so that they are not unleashing the Google rendering crawler, the JavaScript rendering crawler they had. We find out that regarding all our customers, on average, the JavaScript rendering crawler is only coming to websites with no rendering solution at all. On average, they are coming every 24 days. So this is an example you can see on the screen where you can see that there's a big spike on March 30, and it's the Google bot is crawling all the pages of the website on a 24 or 48 hours time frame. So looking at your logs, seeing that kind of chart will help you understand that Google has pre-rendered your website. This is very, very important to understand that Google is not coming very often to crawl all your pages. And as soon as they are unleashing their headless Chromium crawler, they are crawling all your pages. It's important to understand that Google is not unleashing that crawler very often. So this is a way to explain your customers, your bosses, that having a full JavaScript website might not be a good idea because Google won't discover all the new pages you're releasing every day so often. Having a look at your logs will help you understand how crawl budget works. You know, it's our role as SEOs is to point Google to the right pages, to our money pages, and having a look at what Google is crawling every day will help you understand what are the pages Google values. So if Google is hitting your shitty pages, then you're not doing your SEO right. Just a look back at what Google is saying about crawl budget. They say, to sum it up, don't care about crawl budget. I'm sorry, but it's totally bullshit because it's something very critical regarding technical SEO. And let me give you a quick example. What you can see here is on a 100% scale, the number of unique pages crawled by Google every day, the proportion for each zone of my website that Google is crawling every day. So within Oncrawl, you can map your website, and you have in green, this is an e-commerce vendor selling tires. You can see that in green, I have the product pages. So these are the pages that are selling products. I have in yellow the brand pages, in red the directory, because they have a directory of garages. So and then there is a tiny line on top of each bar chart, which is this is a gray bar. It corresponds to the category of pages that is called other. The other category are like the garbage pages, the pages with no value at all for this website. They can be like terms of use, about pages, stuff like that. And you can see it's a tiny number, like 100 unique pages per day that are belonging to this group. And when you're looking at the unique number of pages that are crawled, it's a very small number. But when you're looking at how often is Google is coming to your website, you can see that more than like barely 80% of the resources crawled by Google are belonging to that particular category. They are coming so often that the Google crawl budget is 80% spent on this category of pages. So this is having a look at your file, mapping your website will help you understand where Google is spending its crawl budget. So it's you can see that here this website has a problem because Google is crawling shitty pages. So what Google should say is, I hate your shitty pages I'm crawling every day. I want to crawl your money pages. And what you can see, what you can see is that in the middle of the chart, they did something, and actually they revamped all their internal linking structure so that they improve the allocation of call budget on product pages, which is a good thing, because as it's an e-commerce vendor, they want Google to crawl their product pages. And as they are selling tires, and as they are trying to rank for very long tail queries, this is a good thing for Google to call such product pages. And what you can see is that from a day to another, you can see the improvement. So as soon as they have tackled the problem regarding their internal linking structure, the call budget is reallocated. So you can see that they have some more work to be done, but you can also see that from a day to another, you can check within your logs that you are doing your internal linking structure, for instance, properly. So let's go further and develop another superpower. You need to be assured to have a plan coming together. You need to know which ranking factors matter most. And when you are combining the data from a crawler and the data from your logs, you can understand which ranking factor might influence the bot's behavior. And you need to be very aware that all websites are not born equal. So if you are a niche e-commerce player, or if you are on the contrary a big classifieds website, Google might not behave the same way, because Google is very smart at mapping websites. For instance, they know that if you're a real estate portal, then having some unique content on a flat to rent in Utrecht or a flat to rent in Birmingham, it's very hard to do some unique content. You'll say, okay, there's a kitchen, there's two bedrooms, and stuff like that. So it's very hard to have some unique contents on real estate portals. So that Google might not be that much influenced by the number of words and the size of your content. But when you are a niche e-commerce player, which is my example on the screen, you can see that content really matters. The size of content really matters, because what you can see is that over 800 words, like more than 80% of the pages are called. But as soon as you are below 500 words, there is only 50% of your page that are called, and below 300 words, only 20%. So this is a way to understand what's the threshold you need to reach in terms of size of content, for instance, to get your pages crawled or your pages indexed. And you know, there's always, as SEOs, we are always saying, okay, we need unique content. We need to add more content. Okay, but that's obvious. But the real question is, how many words do I need to add to my pages to perfect them? And by combining that kind of pieces of data, you can have an answer. Another example is, we all talk about the payload and the fact that websites should be very fast. Again, Google won't behave the same way on every website. You can see here that below 500 milliseconds, Google is barely crawling 80% of the pages. But as soon as you're over 500 milliseconds, it really does not matter that you are at 1 second, 2 seconds, or over 2 seconds. So the threshold here is pretty obvious. But you can see websites where, like niche e-commerce players, where the payload is not affecting in any kind the bot's behavior. But if you're looking at classifieds, for instance, payload will have a much deeper impact on call ratio. So you need to think each ranking factor and their influence with in mind what's the type of my website, what's the size of my website, because Google won't behave the same on websites with millions of pages, and they won't behave the same on much smaller websites. So keep that in mind and crunch the data so that you will identify the ideal metric you need to reach on each ranking factor. Same thing for internal linking. How many links do I need to add to get a page crawled? And what you can see is that on this website, as soon as they get 150 links on a page, they are assured that 9 pages out of 10 are crawled. And adding more links won't change the game. So this is also a way to understand where to put the threshold on your internal linking structure. And you know, we are always asked by customers or our bosses, okay, why should I have this kind of HTML tag? What will be the impact in terms of SEO? And this is an obvious example regarding the call ratio for pages with a unique H1 tag, pages with no H1, or pages with H1 that are duplicated within my website. We can see here that the worst case scenario is to have H1 duplicated, because only a third of pages in that case are crawled by Google. You're less shooting yourself in the feet if you don't have any H1, because there'll be 50% of the pages that are crawled. So you can explain your customers, your bosses, what's the importance of each of your optimizations with that kind of data combining. And if you want to understand what's the importance of the ranking factor, because call ratio does not explain everything, it will explain you that there is an influence or not on the bot behavior. But if you want to understand how much influence does a ranking factor has, then you need to look at the call frequency. And what you can see on the screen is the call frequency per number of internal links. So it probably looks obvious for SEO professional like you guys, but this is a way to understand how much work should I need to put on internal linking structure, on content, on structured data, for instance, on payload. This is a way to prioritize your SEO actions with confidence, because you know how much influence that particular ranking factor has on Google bots behavior for that website. And again, all websites are not born equal. This is by combining all these kind of metrics. This is also a way to demystify Google updates and algorithms. Previously, I told you about JavaScript crawling. Having a look at your logs is helping you understand how Google works. And keep in mind that if Google can't scale the way they are doing something, like evaluating near duplicates, then it can be merged into Google core algorithms. Let me give you that example regarding near duplicates. Lots of people are talking about the HTML template of the pages. And believe me, Google does not use that kind of segmentation within a page. Because when you're looking at the performance of algorithms like boilerplate, which is probably the most famous, you can see that the quality of that kind of algorithm is pretty low. You can't map more than like 60% of the website in the world with that kind of algorithms. And Google is looking at quality and being very efficient to produce very, very high quality data. So if it can scale, if the quality of data produced is not like at 99%, chances are Google won't use that kind of algorithms. And understand that algorithms are in deeply need of data. So if Google can't have enough data at web scale, then there might not be using that kind of algorithm. So with that in mind, you can demystify a lot of Google updates and algorithms. I met with Gary Hills last week at an event we've been organizing in France called We Love SEO. He was asked by attendees about the Medic update. And he said, there is no particular update about the websites that belongs to the topic regarding the health industry. It's just we made a core update, and it ended up affecting more websites from the health industry. But there's a lot of myth about Google wanting to tackle that kind of website regarding the health industry, for instance. They are not. This is just a core algorithm, and there is a pattern on websites belonging to the health industry that ended up Google affecting those websites. But there were no particular goal to tackle the health industry. So there are just journalists that are talking about the Medic update. There is no topic related update at Google. This is not the way it works. Now that you understand that you can combine data to get a deeper understanding of how Google may work, you need to watch beyond your metrics and so that you can understand what can be your quick wins. So let's add another layer. Combine your logs, your crawl data, and your analytics data so that you can understand, for instance, where are your active pages. An active page is a page generating organic traffic. So what you can see here is that I have a very big website with lots of very deep pages. I've got the lowest page depth level is 31, so a very, very deep website. And it looks like the vast majority of the pages that are generating organic traffic are located between level 1 and, let's say, level 5. So having that in mind and understanding that you have that kind of allocation of your pages, let's look at how you can map your pages with our crawler, for instance. You can see that have, let's say, my money pages are the pages representing in red in the bar charts. So there are high-tech products, for instance. And what you can see is that the vast majority of those pages are located after page depth level 8. So there might be a problem, because if the red pages are your money pages, and that you know that over page depth level 6, you don't get that much organic traffic, then you should ask yourself is my content distribution as it is set? Is it a good idea? And of course, in that case, that's not a good idea because they put very deep their money pages, but they should have known that they are generating traffic on pages belonging to page depth level 1 to 5 or 6. So while you are building your internal linking structure, you need to have that kind of analysis to be assured that you are doing things right. So it's just good sense that a lot of people are trying to do some very, very complex things, and they are not looking at data. So looking at that kind of data will give you easy answers. And while you are combining your logs and crawl analytics data, you can build your ideal technical SEO metrics very easily. You need to, you can even drill down to a particular zone of your website. Let's say you're a big e-commerce player, you are selling fashion, you're selling high-tech products, you're selling food, and not every category will have the same impact in terms of rankings or and as Google is very good at mapping websites, they are able to map your website as well, and each zone of your website. So you can define ideal technical SEO metrics for each category of your website. For instance, let's keep that example of an e-commerce player. You can say, okay, for all pages that are selling high-tech products, what's the average number of words I have on pages belonging to that category and pages that are active, so that I can understand how many words I need to add on the other pages belonging to that category. You can understand how many links do they have, what's the payload of that that particular zone of my website, and within that zone, the ideal metrics the active pages are getting. So you can build like the right method is to try to build lookalike pages with the same metrics, because chances are if you are getting the same metrics for page B, and that the same metrics than page A that was active, chances are page B will be active pretty soon. Sorry. So by combining your logs, crawl, and analytics data, you'll get your ideal technical SEO metric. So you need to work on that. You need to download the data from your analytics. If your website is not that big, you can crunch it within Excel, but please do it because there are many learnings to get from that. By combining the analytics data on top of the crawl data and the logs, you can also get a better understanding of your usage metrics versus your SEO performance. This is a good way to understand how payload may affect your usage metrics, or what's the threshold in terms of bounce rate your count get over for a particular zone of your website. So it's very useful to crunch that data from your analytics, I mean the usage metrics, and compare it to the distribution of your content, your payload. You'll get very interesting insights, and you will understand what are the zones at risk. For instance, regarding your usage metrics, it's pretty much easier to do it like this, whereas trying to do that only in analytics, because you miss a lot of things if you're doing that way. And then you need to explore a new SEO universe by combining, for instance, your Google Search Console data versus your logs, or and versus your crawl data, because by doing that you get all the data from your rankings, and that's why we built Oncrawl rankings. And doing that, you are able to understand what are the pages that are ranking, what are the pages that are ranking and that are generating traffic. Why do that kind of pages are ranking on that particular zone of my website? Why those pages aren't? You have all the answers here. So for each ranking factor, again, you will understand if it has a direct impact or not on your rankings, on Googlebot's behavior. You can understand if there's a correlation between crawl budget and your rankings. And I can tell you the answer here. There is no direct correlation between your crawl budget and your rankings. So don't be fooled by that. This is untrue. Crawl budget corresponds to the ability of Google to index your website. Of course, if your pages are not indexed, they can't rank. But having a very high boost on a particular zone will not always end up into better rankings. It's because you have improved how internal popularity flows, for instance, or that you have added structured data, for instance, that Google might compute a higher score for your page, and this is why the page will get better rankings. But only having a higher call frequency, this will not always end up into better rankings. So by crunching that kind of data, you can understand that, and again, you can demystify how Google works. So and again, it's at your fingertips. It's pretty easy to grab that kind of data. So you should point your SEO reflections with that in mind, and crunch that kind of data. Again, it will be very easy to understand what are the success factors of each of your pages, depending on their rankings, and again, build the ideal metrics for each zone of your websites you need to reach to get a page ranking. It's also a great way to understand the influence of rich snippets. And this is a great example, because what you can see on the screen is, so on the left you have the CTR of pages with structured data. So the green, orange, and red category are pages with CTR is over 30%, and in violet you get pages with a CTR below 30%. And on the left you have pages with structured data, which might have rich snippets, and on the right the pages without structured data. This is a way to understand that when you have structured data, chances are you have a rich snippet, so that you get better CTR. And because you are getting better CTR, you will end up improving your rankings because of algorithms like RankBrain, for instance. This is very interesting, because this way, for the first time, you can predict how much traffic you will get if you are implementing that particular optimization, because you know how much traffic you're making on your pages, on your product pages, for instance. Okay, let's add the schema.org stuff regarding aggregate reviews. I know that when I have aggregate reviews, and I have those leader scores. Within my rich snippets, my CTR is better, is 20% better. So for the same rankings, I'll get 20% more clicks. So that with that in mind, you can predict how much new traffic you will get. And this will be very useful to convince your bosses, your clients to do that particular optimization. So crunching the data will also help you evangelize about your SEO strategy. And again, you're taking better decisions with confidence because you can crunch that kind of data. Just talk about RankBrain, and there's a real cool thing when you're crunching your GSC data regarding the crawl data, or only data from GSC. When you're looking at the average CTR by position, and when you're looking at the standard deviation, I don't think it's pretty clear on the screen. But when you see pages, I don't know if you can see my pointer, but when you have a blue line representing the average CTR, and there are a lot of dots upside and downside that blue curve. Downside, you get all pages represented by dots that have a CTR that is very far from the average CTR. So this is a standard deviation you need to evaluate. And all pages below that blue line are pages at risk regarding RankBrain, because when you're looking at the patent of RankBrain, they are explaining that they want to re-rank pages depending on the quality of the SERPs, and they want to re-rank pages in real time. So fortunately, it's not in real time right now, but as soon as RankBrain recompute data, they will crunch the CTR data to evaluate if a page is well ranked. So when you have a high standard deviation, then and that the standard deviation is negative, for instance, then you have a problem, and you get all your pages at risk, and all pages up that blue line are pages that might gain some rankings. So crunching that kind of data will help you fight algorithms like RankBrain, and then you're becoming an augmented SEO, because you know, and you have superpowers because you manage the data. Crunching GSC data, logs data, and call data will help you understand your rankings and understand particular behavior within rankings for specific industries, like the gambling industry. You'll see at some point that people are fighting with lots of backlinks, but people that are making a very big difference are not fighting that much on that kind of thing. So please try to crunch that kind of data, and you'll be developing awareness about how things works. That's all for today. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer it. If you have any question, drop me a line afterwards, or tweet me at Oncrawl. Thanks a lot.
Oh, okay, François. Thank you for your interesting webinar. We had some discussion in the group last week where one question popped up. Can a page be indexed without being crawled?
No, not at all. Not at all. If a page is not crawled, you can't. A page can't be indexed.
Okay, yes, I will record it and send it to the person who said, yeah, he had a page which was indexed in Google, but said it was never crawled.
Well, there's the way a search engine works implies that this statement is wrong. The main thing is Google has a very, very big memory. And they remind pages that were on your websites like 10 years ago. And sometimes they're trying to reach them, even if they does not exist for a very, very long time. So as soon as one day a page has popped up, then Google might have indexed it, and they will probably come back. So and you know, sometimes people are fighting hard to find where that page that is indexed by Google. It's even in a 302 redirect. Why is it indexed? And you can see that when you're looking at, for instance, chain loops within your internal linking structure, you have a page that is linked from page A and redirects to page B and page C and page D with always a 301 redirects. Then Google is following all those links. Sometimes there are some bugs. So they keep some pages, they substitute some pages to others. So these are very, very, very particular cases, but there's always a Google bot which has crawled the page. So you should look at your logs from years back to find the answer.
Yeah, Google's memory is too good. There has been some some really big fluctuations by some Google updates last time. What are your views on that? Is Google trying to recover something from the medic updates, or are they just fixing things, or what do you think?
Well, I think I had a few discussions with Googlers, and I think really the thing they have in mind, and it's not propaganda at all, is to perfect the search experience of people querying Google. So my bet is that they are trying to improve the search experience, and at the end of the day, it's ending up hurting some websites. But I don't see them trying to adjust things because they made mistakes. Because when you're looking at how they are doing their job, they have tons of data to take decisions. So sometimes they are testing things like new snippets or a new type of ranking. But as soon as they release a core update, believe me, they've got all the data to do what they want to do. So they won't be on a path to correct things afterwards. They won't push the button to release the update if it's not good. So I believe that people are, SEOs are working a lot to improve things. So there's always gainers and losers. But when you're looking at your fundamentals regarding the technical side, you're always doing things right. Perhaps you've been exaggerating regarding content segmentation within your website, like okay, your job portal, you have a computing engineer, Bristol computing engineer, Birmingham.
Like the pages with location and service.
And obviously, if you look at the page, there are shitty pages. So don't be like too shaky about having penalty or stuff like that.
Yeah, we have to continue improving our quality of our content. I think that's the main thing here, or not?
Yeah, definitely. And you know, people are always thinking about seeing Google as a very smart entity out there, but they are just statisticians trying to do some very smart things.
Yeah.
But there is always a rational reason, because regarding the fact you've been hit by a penalty or not. So people are always complaining, but I believe they are doing something that is very hard, which is indexing the web and prioritizing pages. This is a very big task, and I believe they are doing things pretty good.
Yeah, thanks for your insights. So yeah, that wasn't the webinar was very interesting. The most important part I have remembered is to have enough data, so you don't have to make some rough assumptions, and so you can convince your clients to or manager to make improvements to your internal link structure, page speed, or content, because that can be somehow difficult sometimes to convince the client to do things, because it's cost a lot of money, or it is a lot of work. And that one thing I also have remembered is that more Google hits doesn't mean better rankings.
Yeah, definitely. I believe you'll get the slides. Matthias, feel free to share it on the group. And we'll be happy to drop you a coupon code for you guys so that you can test Oncrawl as well.
Oh yeah, awesome. I will definitely share also this webinar. I think it's automatically recorded, so the people who couldn't attend the webinar will be able to watch it afterwards also. So maybe there will come some questions tomorrow or next week, but they can drop it in an email to you, I think.
Okay, perfect. That sounds good to me. Thanks a lot for having me. Have fun, guys, and enjoy your data crunching.
Yeah, no problem. Goodbye, Francois.
Thank you.